Good Voch. Shavua Tov, everybody. We are live in Moreshet, in Avi Mendelbaum's house. Unbelievable. It's a show of Achdos, really. Moreshet is up north, very up north. There's 320 homes here, 320 Dati Leumi families. And with us tonight we have 3 members of our shir. We're very excited to be here. So thanks for having us. And it's Avi's 40th birthday?
Just turned 40, yes.
When?
Hebrew birthday was this past Wednesday. English birthday was March 1st.
Yeah, you can hear Avi Mendelbaum. So Avi is he's very famous. He's on Zoom every single day. He's the top shelf Zoom. He has a very interesting background every single day. And we decided for his birthday, and we're only 45 minutes away, so we decided to come and do the shir live from his house. So happy birthday. Today's shir, sponsored Lili Nishmas Imi Mirasi Ruspas Mordechai, and sponsored by Yossi Klein from Superior Plumbing. Yossi Klein is doing something beautiful for the Siyum. He's donating, I forgot how many, but a couple hundred art scroll Gemaras, shkalim, for anybody that joins the shir. So he's asking if anybody wants to join him in that partnership, make it hundreds, maybe 1,000. So contact, I don't know, Yossi or somebody. Sponsored by Yossi Klein, thank you. Everything good?
We need for the Beis Medrash.
Don't worry about that. You're very too close for comfort, by the way, Gary. Usually you're at the other side of the Beis Medrash.
I know the Gemara today, so I'm getting ready for that.
Zok to Gemara. We are there's no email today because I don't have a printer, and Be'ez Hashem will have one tomorrow. Instead, we're going to have I'm going to do a little bit of a Monsey Shabbos story in middle of the daf. So we're holding daf Kuf Yud Aleph Amud Beis, 2, 4, 6, 8 lines from the bottom, approximately. Omer Rav Yosef. We know Rav Yosef himself was blind. He actually asked to be blind, and he was granted his wish after his Rebbe was nifter. So Rav Yosef says, Omer Rav Yosef, Hanit las mili, Yoiv arboina l'nahira. These 3 things could cause blindness. Man desarik reishe yabesh. So again, we're going into a whole sugya. Enjoy it while it lasts. We're going to the whole sugya of Agadata. We're going to get a couple of daf of halachas for the Lela Seder, very appropriate, just in time, and then back to Agadata. So these are the 3 things that cause blindness. Man desarik reishe yabesh, if you comb your hair when your hair is dry. Uman deshasi tif tif, and if you drink from a barrel of wine, drip by drip. Uman desayim misana adam yasnil kara. If your foot is wet and you put on your shoes, it could cause blindness. If you hang bread at home, it causes poverty. You hang your bread, you're hanging your livelihood. And we're talking about bread. This is good news. In Chicago, the Olam is very into hanging Romanian salamis everywhere. So salami is okay, meat is okay. V'chavri, fish, you could hang fish. Less lamba, no problem. Orchi, that's the usual manner of doing things. Hang these things, great. Pare, the basic koshelani yusah. So this is an interesting yisod, really. I saw brought down. This is bran. If you have bran at home, it brings on poverty. What's the idea? The idea is if a person could afford more, and he's stingy. It's not good to be stingy. If you could afford more, and you're keeping your money for no good reason, it's a problem. It causes poverty. Nishvara bebeisa kashalani yusuf. If you have breadcrumbs at home, also causes poverty. Says the Gemara, B'leili Shabbos B'leili Revi'is Shorim Mazikim Lovei. The Mazikim, the demons, they have the right to attack on Friday nights and Tuesday nights. Isar de Mezaynei Nakid Shmei. The one in charge of Parnasa, his name is Nakid. Nakid means cleanliness. So he likes to be clean. He's a clean freak. and he doesn't like to see Shalom Aleichem, welcome. He doesn't like to see crumbs. So be careful, don't have crumbs out. Isara Daniyusa, Novel Shmei. And the one in charge of poverty, his name is Novel. How do you say Novel in English? Disgusting. So a gross guy. So when he sees that the place is gross, he really enjoys it. So Apuma the Chatzba, if you have a plate that's on top of a barrel, kosher Daniyusa, it's not good if you want to keep your money. If you drink water out of a plate, it could cause blindness. If you eat cress and you don't wash your hands, you'll be scared for 30 days. You'll have anxiety for 30 days. Daf of Kufyud Beis, top of Kufyud Beis. The Mesoichar, the dishwasher is going off. The Mesoichar v'le Moshe Yodei. If a person has bloodletting and doesn't wash his hands, mefachet shivi yoyim, he'll be scared for 7 days. The shakam mizaya v'le Moshe Yodei. If he gets a haircut and doesn't wash his hands, mefachet lasi yoyim, he'll be scared for 3 days. The shakal tufrei, and if he cuts his nails, v'le Moshe Yodei, mefachet chad yoyim, he'll be scared 1 day. People wash their hands after they cut their nails. I think most people wash their hands 6 times, like Negelwasser. 3 and 3, yeah? No? 2 and 2?
A do 4 and 4. Because after...
Yeah, the guy does 4 and 4. Yeah, great.
4 and 4, Habibi, that's the way to go.
So the Gemara says, Mefachet chad yoyma. A person is not even going to know what he's just scared. He just has anxiety, doesn't even know why. Yoda a'usya dargul afachta. If a person puts his hand like this above his lip, that's like 1 step towards being scared. Yoda aputa, if he puts his hand on his forehead, it's dargo lishinta, it's 1 step towards sleeping. There was a book somebody just showed me the other day, came to me in the basement, she said, here's a picture of Chaim Kanievsky. A kid walked over to him and said, Rav, what does the Gemara mean when you have your hand on your forehead? Show me. And he showed him. He went like this. So they took a picture of him going like this, but we couldn't print it. I have it on my phone somewhere. Tana.
I would post it now.
Achlin umashkin tachas hamita. This is an interesting one. It has to stay in one place, and that's it. You got it?
Let's go.
Yoda. You get to see this live. Says the Gemara.
That way, and the camera's here.
Don't worry about where I look. You can't put the camera right where I look. Every single day. It's a lost cause. You should not sleep above food. We used to do this in yeshiva all the time in the dorm, put food under the bed. Not a good thing. Even if you try to save it with a metal kli, it's not going to help. It's not going to protect the ruach ra from hitting the food. Ruach ra shoyre aleim. So what do you do? What do you do with this food? You have to throw it out. Rav Shteiman told people that you could give it to yeshiva guys. Why? Because at the end of the day, this is it's. You see from here that it's not like a. It's not concrete. It's a ruach ra, but it's not to the point where you destroy the food. Now the Shulchan Aruch says that it doesn't. The whole thing of ruach ra. For instance, he says when it comes to doing different things. Different lechashim, you say different sheimas, everything. He says you can do it on Shabbos. It's not a problem with refuah because it doesn't exist. It doesn't help. So the Vilna Gaon says that he made a mistake. He must have made a mistake because you see throughout the Gemara that it does work, these lechashim. Now, why exactly am I saying it here? I'm not exactly sure, but why not? It's Motzei Shabbos. Ruach ra, fine. I'm just telling you about Rav Shteiman. Tana Rabbana. We got to be careful with the table. Every time it moves, the YouTube goes like this. So all 1,000 people on YouTube. So do not drink water. So what's the pshat? You can't drink water on Tuesday night, on Friday night. All right, so you should not drink water Tuesday nights and Friday nights. What does that mean? Don't drink water, or you got to be thirsty. It means if you're in complete dark. Once again, this has to do with shadim. They need a drink, and they're going to attack the water then. V'im shasa, and if you do drink, dama b'reishay, you're creating your own sakana, so therefore you deserve to die. Dama b'reishay, sakana. My sakana? Ruach ra. V'im tzachi. If a person is very thirsty, matakante, what should he do? Nema, shiva koilas shomer David ala mayim. You should say the 7 koilos. Is anybody familiar with these psukim? Shenemar, koil Hashem ala mayim. Eila kovid hirim, Hashem al mayim rabim, koil Hashem b'koyach, koil Hashem b'hodar, koil Hashem shavei rozim, v'shavar Hashem zaz levanon, koil Hashem choytziv l'havei. It starts off with water, goes somewhere else. Koil Hashem yochel midbar, yochel Hashem midbar hakodesh, koil Hashem yichol ha'yolois, Kabbalah Shabbos, right? V'yechsoif ya'arois uv'yecholoi kuloi v'mer kavod. I believe this coming guy, dumbest guy in Shas. Why? Here's a guy that's not familiar with these psukim, but he's familiar with the following thing. V'iloi, if he doesn't know these psukim, what should he say? Neima achi, lul shafan anigroin anir difin, ben koich ve'yesvina, I'm sitting between the stars, ben blei, between the very thin people, shmeine, between the fat people, azilna. You hear this?
Yeah.
So here's a guy that knows how to say this balpeh. Lul shafon an nigroin an nirdefin ben koich vayesivno ben bli shmini azilna. But he doesn't know how to say kol Hashem yichol ha'yolos v'echsev yarois v'cholei kulei omer kavod. Interesting guy. V'loi, and if this doesn't work, or he doesn't know it, if he has a guy sleeping, he should wake him up. I was just thinking about this. I'm sleeping and a guy walks over to me. In the middle of your sleep, this is what he's telling you. So that he could drink. He's very thirsty. Then after he wakes his friend up, and screams his mother's name in his ear, then he can drink the water. You should rattle the top of the barrel, and then he could drink it. Basically, scaring the shadim away. You should throw something in there, and then he could drink. What's the problem? Akol b'seder?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Torah Rabban. Lo yishte adam mayim loy min harois veloy min hagam belayla. You should not drink water from the nahar, from the rivers, veloy min hagamim, and bodies of water at night. Bimshasa dama b'roishay. Mipnei sakana. Again, you have the shadim that are lurking around the waters, and it's dark. So dama b'roishay, chayiv misa. So I want to tell you, my sakonas shavriri, there's a shade that we had the other day, shavriri is his name. That's the sakona.
I would think maybe this is related to the story of Yaakov and the Malach of Esa. That was a body of water at night.
And what's the sakana?
He got attacked.
He got attacked, okay. So they hang out by the water, you see, maybe that's why. They hang out they need the drink. And he bothered them. So over here it says that you shouldn't drink at night because of the shadim. The Gemara in Baba Basra says, in avodas says something very different. In avodas it says that you shouldn't drink because the Gemara talks about drinking from a tube that you didn't check, and if you drink from it without looking, you might drink a leech. So I want to tell you a Matzah Shabbos story. I said this over a while ago, but you guys didn't hear it. I don't think. If you did, let me know. So a while back, when I lived in Chicago, I bought an RV. You know the story about the RV?
You told us about the RV. Whether it's the
Did I
same
tell you
story,
about the leech in the RV?
I don't think
No.
so.
Okay. So I bought an RV to take my kids on a trip. and it was a pretty bad investment. I bought it for that one trip. I took one trip,
You told us that it was a bad
and I never. Well, it ended up being a good investment, but that's a whole different story for a different time. So I take my children there, go back, and then I said, now what? I have this giant RV sitting in front of my house. I think it was like 36 feet or something. What do I do with it? So I said, okay, if I had such a problem renting one, and that's why I bought one, let me rent it. I'll go on Craigslist, I'll rent it out. So I put an ad on Craigslist. Within an hour, a guy contacts me and says, yeah, I want it for a few days. It's like, great. I give him a price, $600 a day. Great, he's gonna take it. So, but I had to go into the RV to make sure all the systems were working. We didn't use the toilet at all because I refused to clean it and all that. So I said, okay, well, let me see that the sink works. I didn't really use the sink. So I turn on the motor, push all these buttons, nothing. No water comes out. There's a button next to it that says pump. I put the pump on, no, nothing. So like a genius, I said, maybe it's because there's no maybe I gotta give the faucet a good suck and I'll get the whole water going. Oh, no. And this is a moment of geniosity. So I put my mouth on the faucet and I go, and I hear the water. I was like, oh, it's working, my idea is working. I'm very excited. And I keep on going and going. And suddenly something hits my mouth. It was very sweet. So I spit it out into the sink and it's pink something. And immediately I realize, oh my goodness, I just drank antifreeze. I remember recalling antifreeze and people put it in their RVs and the guy probably winterized it with antifreeze. And now I have antifreeze in my mouth. And I remember antifreeze is extremely dangerous. I go on Google and I put antifreeze in Google and it says, how to kill your neighbor's dog. You give it a bowl of antifreeze. And it says, if a person drinks antifreeze, it will kill him within 2 days. He won't die right away, but it hits your liver. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I just drink antifreeze and I spit most of it out. So I go into the house and I call poison control. He said, what happened? I said, I drank antifreeze. Sir, do you want to commit suicide? I said, that's not the issue now. I have antifreeze. Are you trying to commit suicide? No, I'm not trying. Are you sure? I was like, what do I do? Just tell me what I do. He said, rush to the emergency room. So I'm not going to the emergency. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm not going to the emergency. So I get into my room and my wife says, who are you talking to at 1 in the morning? Like, I'll tell you, there's good news and bad news. The good news is I'm going to live for 2 days. At least 2 days. Bad news is I drank, some of this antifreeze and I'm not sure what's going to happen in 2 days. I might go. It might be my last 2 days. Fine. So that was that. A couple hours later, I have to get up. I used to give a shiur in Chicago and they're doing avodas. I'm learning avodas. I open up Daf Yomi Pesachim and I start preparing the shiur. I get a few lines into the daf, and I can't believe my eyes. It says in the Gemara, one should not suck from a tube, because there might be a leech in the tube, and it's a sakana. Like, this is the modern day leech. I just sucked and I closed the Gemara. I couldn't learn. I was in shock from the Gemara that it just happened a few hours ago. I didn't know about this Gemara, and I sucked from a pipe without knowing what's in it. And the Gemara tells you not to suck from the pipe. That was that. Okay, so that's the Monsey Shabbos story.
I'm just going to add in, you just said, and we were doing avodas zara, and I'm like, what? He's worshiping another.
The guy's a Mareshet. Zog the Gemara.
I was asking why you didn't go to the hospital.
It was not a lot. It was just a little bit. Zog the Gemara. Maitakante. So if a person is very thirsty, what should he do? If there's other people with him, I'm thirsty, I want to drink. He should say to himself, my mother said, be careful of the shade named Shviri. And listen to this. This might sound familiar. Shivriri, beriri, Meuman, riri, rei, tzachina, maya, bekasi chivari. That's where they got it from, by the way, I think. No. This is the na thing, but in reverse. It starts from uman, and it breaks it down to one letter. Shivriri, briri, riri, ri, tzachina, maya. I'm thirsty for water, bekasi chivari. in a clear cup. Okay. How much time do we have left? So it said in the Mishnah that if somebody's poor, and we learned, well, we added to the Mishnah. We know the halacha is if somebody's poor, he has to provide himself with 4 cups of wine. He has to sell everything he has. He should sell himself. He should work hard to get the 4 cups. But if he's dependent on tzedakah and they should give him the 4 cups of wine. Says the Gemara Pshita, of course he has to sell himself. Of course he has to do whatever he needs to do in order to provide himself with the 4 cups of wine. Says the Gemara, even according to Rebbe Akiva, the Omar, you should make a very, very simple Shabbos. Don't do chol, don't do meat, don't do anything. And don't be dependent on others. Over here, he admits that you should be dependent on tzedakah. If you can't afford it another way, you should do whatever you need to do in order to have the 4 cups of wine. And from here, you see also the concept of Pirsum Nisa for Chanukah, that no matter what, for Pirsum Nisa, you're mitzdarech labriyos. There's a very interesting idea here in this line. Asay Shabbat Chachol. Today, when I was learning it, I was thinking to myself that this is more of a problem, not so much in Moreshet and in Eretz Yisrael, but it's more of a problem in America, where people live beyond their means. They're living on credit, unfortunately. It's a pandemic. That you have to keep up with the Joneses. You have to have that car. You have to have that house. You have to have this, and you have to have that. You don't need anything. You need to live within your means, and people don't. It's a tremendous, and that's what it says over here. I say Shabbat Chachol, if you can't afford it, don't buy that chicken, don't buy that fish. Eat cereal on Shabbos, don't come on to others. And that also means don't use your credit card if you can. Zog Gemara, Tanan de Beilio. Even though Rebbe Akiva said that, but at least do one simple thing, l'kavet Shabbos Kodesh. Oh, you know what? Tonight is Rosh Chodesh, Chodesh Tov. Right now it's Rosh Chodesh. And I just want to point out that we just learned a few weeks ago about Rosh Chodesh. You have to add something to your meal. You have to make a special, I just remembered now, because here on Shabbos you do something, even a poor person has to add something small. Rosh Chodesh also, you have to make a little Suda. What do you do? Small little fish. It's not your ben Tema Omer. Havi az kanomer. Az kanomer. What's the word in English? Az? What does he translate? Like chutzpahdik, like
Audacity.
No, of course he does. Az kanomer. What do you have? You don't have a thing there?
Raisin?
No. It's good. The good. No. Have a az kanomer. Az kanomer. In the middle of the page. Where are you following? In the Hebrew side?
English side. I'm trying to figure where I was. I just lost it.
See,
these guys.
Mesechus Pesachim.
Fine. Azuz. Az kanomer. You know what?
Small fish fried.
Right after that. 5 words after that, because it's not Rebbe ben Tema. Bold. Have an az kanomer. You should be bold like a nomer. Like a
mighty or intense.
nomer is a leopard. So look at the Rashbam here. Beautiful Rashbam. Have a az kanomer. You see the Rashbam here? It's chazek b'mitzvos yoser m'shayecholes b'yadcha. Oh, when it comes to money and spending, then you should live below your means, not above your means. When it comes to mitzvahs, it's the exact opposite. His chazek b'mitzvos yoser m'shayecholes b'yadcha. More than you could, more than you think you're capable. Go even that much further. You think all I can learn is an hour a day? Push it to an hour and 5 minutes. Do a little bit more. Always push the mitzvah. The kal kanesher, and light like an eagle. Actually, they think in Hebrew, nesher they say is a vulture. Rotz katzvi, I don't know which one it is. Rotz katzvi should be light on your feet like a deer, v'gibo ka'ari, and strong like a lion. interesting because on Amud Beis we'll see also this Gibur Kari. I'm just going to say it, but here it is right here. Gibur Kari, powerful like a lion. Last is Ritzon Avicha Sheb'Shamayim. There's actually the Shulchan Aruch starts off page 1, and Shulchan Aruch has this in there that when you get up for Shacharis, you get up in the morning like a lion. Get up. Don't be lazy. Last is Ritzon Avicha Sheb'Shamayim. Torah Rabbanan Shiva Dvarim Tziva Rebbe Akiva's Rebbe Shua Benoi. Rebbe Akiva commanded his son Rebbe Shua. So now we know he had at least one son named Rebbe Shua. Beni, don't sit where everybody could see you and learn Torah because people will disturb you then. Don't live in a place where the mayor of the city is a Talmid Chacham. Either you won't have time to deal with the stuff, whatever the reason is. Don't just walk into your house unannounced. The Rashbam here brings very nice that Rabbi Yochanan wouldn't go into his house unannounced because it says in the pasuk that the Kohen Gadol would walk. Vinishma, where is it? This thing, but he says something about Vinishma. The pasuk says that you heard the bells when he walked, so he also is mekayim this pasuk. You don't want to scare them. Maybe they're not dressed properly. Whatever. You knock on the door before you come in. Certainly not when you go into your friend's house. Vinishma koiloi bevoyla hakodesh, the Rashbam says. Okay. Make sure you have shoes on your feet. Hashkim v'chol. This is anti the intermittent fasting that I do. You should get up in the morning and do pashacharis. B'kayitz mipnei achama u'b'chorv mipnei atzina. It'll protect you. V'asei Shabbat chol. And here once again we see the idea. Make your if you can't afford it, don't spend it. Now, if a person has a lot of emunah, then the halacha is HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, borrow money and I'll pay it back. But you have to believe in it. Somebody asked the Chazon Ish once, trying to think if I remember the story correctly, asked the Chazon Ish, can I borrow money without knowing how I'm going to pay it back? I have a emunah, I'm going to pay it back. So Chazon Ish told him, on condition that if somebody like you asked you for money, you'd lend him the money based on that emunah. If you have such strong emunah that you're going to be able to pay it back, that you would lend on that kind of emunah, then yes, you could borrow on that. But if you don't know where you're going to pay it back, don't borrow. If somebody has really good luck, then be partners with him. Not to buy and sell to him. Come partners with him. Shem blessed everything he did. If you take money from Eiv, you'll also have a brocha. Even to buy and sell is good. It's also considered part of the brocha. So if you buy from Eiv, you have a brocha. You sell to Eiv, you have a brocha. So a person has a lot of luck, buy and sell from it. Rebbe Akiva was Rebbe Shimon Rashbi's. How far are we from Kever Rashbi?
45 minutes.
Oh, it is 45 minutes. Okay.
My oldest daughter goes to school in Meron. So.
Meron, really? Wow. Rebbe Akiva, we know, was in jail. The Romans said not to learn Torah, and he said, I'm going to teach Torah no matter what, and they put him in jail. Omer Loi, Rebbe Lamdeni Torah. So Shimon Bar Yochai goes to visit Rebbe Akiva. He says, teach me Torah. Omar, Eni milamedcha. I don't want to teach you. Omer Loi, Imeina to milamdeni. So he threatens him. Very, very interesting line in Shas. Needs a lot of explanation. He said, Rebbe Shimon Bar Yochai tells Rebbe Akiva, if you don't teach me Torah, Ani Omer, who's Rebbe Shimon Bar Yochai's father? What was his name? Hello? Gary. What was Rebbe Shimon Bar Yochai's father's name? Yochai, not Bar Yochai. He's the son of Yochai. So, Ani Omer le Yochai, Abba, I'm going to tell my father on you. I'll do Mesira on you. Rebbe Akiva's in jail already. I'm going to tell him for real what you're all about. Basically, a real threat. Rebbe Shimon Bar Yochai understood that he needs to learn Torah from Rebbe Akiva. That's how we got Shas. Kiva, Tez Talmidim. Amalai. This is the famous line. I asked Gary. I started the word today, and he just said the entire line. I guess it's very famous. Amalai. Bini. Yosim Masha Ego Reitzelinak. More than a calf wants to nurse, Para Reitzelahonik. The mother wants to give the calf more than the calf wants to drink. Trust me, I want to teach you Torah more than you want to learn Torah from me. That's what Rabbi Kiva told him. There's danger, I can't teach you. Omar Lai, so Rabbi Shimon says, Yomi Pesachim, who's the sakana? If the calf doesn't drink, it'll drop dead. Omar Lai, so you're talking about death, you're talking about Mesira and Bikashta Lechonek. If you want to hang yourself, he told a Bilan Gadol. So he told him, he started teaching him. He said, basically, if you want to learn Torah from me, if you want to learn Torah, go to the greatest. So that when people, I'm saying over from the Rashbam, how he explains the Gemara, not if you want to commit suicide, go to a tall tree. It means if you want to teach Torah, you want to learn Torah, get it from the greatest so that people will accept it from you.
This is the origin of go big or go home.
That's right. When you teach your son, make sure that the sefer that you're learning from doesn't have any mistakes in it. Mahi Omarova, should be new. The Shabeshto, Kivin al. Once it has mistakes and your son absorbs the mistakes, he'll never forget them. Don't use a pot that your friend already used. What is it referring to? Do not marry a divorcee that her husband is still alive. When a divorce, do we have any divorced people here? Close your ears. A divorced man who marries a divorcee, did you marry? You remarried? A divorcee? Arba deyois bamita. There's 4 people in bed. Says the Rashbam here that there's a problem here. Last line in the Rashbam. You're not allowed to think about another woman. If somebody thinks about another woman, then his kids are similar to a mamzer. They're the sons of a grusha in his heart. Okay, fine. Grusha halev. Some people say this is also a problem marrying a widow. Lefi she'ein kol etzboi shavais. Not every man is the same, and the concern is that the almana will start comparing husbands. Sponsored Daf Yomi Beis, sponsored by Eli Deichman. Brocha vehatzlacha for all the MDY team, you Gershon, and all the other guys, and all fixers doing exercise while watching the daf in their everyday lives, for all the hard avodas hakodesh they do. Thanks to Eli Deichman. And sponsor for all Yisrael, especially from our MDY family. Please consider joining the MDY Tehillim group, tehillim.8mindaf.com. Mitzvah v'guv gadol. If a person wants to accomplish 2 things, he wants to make a mitzvah, but also get a lot of monetary benefit from it. So what he does is, he could lend the money, and what they would do is, the guy in return would give collateral a field, and he'd be able to he'll take the benefit from the field, and eventually get his money back. So he gains a lot. Mitzvah v'guftar. If he wants to do a mitzvah and be pure, one shot was, I saw that he already has children, he was already married, but if he wants to be pure, not come to any averis, he should remarry. Arba dvarim tziva Rabbeinu HaKadesh's bana. We know Rebbe was called Rabbeinu HaKadosh. He never put his hand below his belt. Al tadlu b'shach netziv. Don't live in shach netziv. Why? Mishum d'leitzonei havu. People are jokesters over there. Umashchulach b'leitzinusa. It's more than jokesters. They're leitzonim. They don't everybody shalaylam tired of that. Make fun of everything. Don't sit on an aramis on a goya's bed. What does that mean? You shouldn't go to sleep without saying Kriya Shema. Rav Pinkus has a great line. It says in the Shulchan Aruch, as we mentioned before, when you wake up, you should wake up as Gaber Kari. He says, but you can't expect to wake up like a lion if you went to sleep like a donkey. So you should say Kriya Shema, you go to sleep like a lion, and then you wake up like a lion. Do not marry a Giyaris. Why? Because for 10 generations you have to be careful not to insult her. 10 generations, you'll say, oh, you know why you're like this? Because you come from this. You grew up in an Arab village, Shkoyach. Of course, that's a problem. You're not allowed to sit on a guy's bed. Literally, the famous story of the Rav Papa. And what's very interesting is, if you think about it, Rav Papa means he was an Amayra. Rebbe wrote the Mishnah, he's a Tana. So Rav Papa lived way, way after Rebbe. Had he listened to this Rebbe's advice, he wouldn't have had his famous story. What was the story? Rav Papa sold beer for a living. He was very wealthy. So he lent money. So he lent this woman money, a non-Jew, and then he came, knocked on her door, said, give me the money. She said, okay, come in, I'm going to look for the money. Meanwhile, sit down on the bed. What happened was, before he sat down, she took her child and she killed her child and put her child under the bed, and she accused him of killing the child. And it was a great idea. She only lost one child, but she didn't have to pay Rav Papa money because he ran away. He ended up running away to a different country. So if you don't sit on a guy's bed, you wouldn't have this problem. And don't try to get out of taxes. I saw different people, what kind of taxes, maybe it wasn't the typical taxes, it was the taxes of these hoodlums that would run around and try to get more. Because if you don't pay and then they find you, they'll take everything you have. I saw Reb Zilberstein says, there's a guy that came to him and said, here's a story. You hear the Maisa? Somebody wanted to do his friend a favor. So he decided he owns a phone book company. And he had a good friend. He'll give him a freebie, give him a full page ad about his business. But then the authorities found out about it. That he has a business. They went through the book and they see, oh, this guy has a business. How come he's not paying taxes? So he got into a lot of trouble because of the free ad. And he came to Bez and he said, my friend messed me up. So Rav Zilberstein said, Dina de Machusa Dina, at least I think the story was in Chutz La'aretz. I don't know if he would say the same thing in Yisrael, I don't know. But it said it was in Chutz La'aretz. Dina de Machusa Dina. And since the guy had to pay taxes anyway, so there's no problem putting in the ad. That was his psak. Anyway, says the Gemara, don't stand in front of a bull when it's coming out of the water, because he's meshuga. As you all know, if you listen to the shir, in the safari, they tell you, the most dangerous animal in the safari, the one that killed the most humans, is the hippo. But the craziest animal, the most unpredictable animal in the safari,
The tour guide.
the most unpredictable guy is the bull, the buffalo. That's crazy. He'll look at you, he's pretending he's grazing, suddenly he just charges. Even the lion, he'll make a little roar, he'll shake his tail, something. You'll know, not a buffalo. Bull, buffalo, all the same. They might be kosher, those guys. But that's only a black bull, Ubiyam Nisan, and a Nisan. If you have a bull that didn't gore anyone, he only gored once, twice, not the 3 times, then you have to distance yourself 50 amma from him, that's about 150 feet. Mishar Mu'ad, but if he gored 3 people, Kimloy Einov, just stay away from him. Even if the bull, his head is inside the basket of food, run to the roof, and get rid of the staircase. You have a ladder, pull it up, because he's going to climb the ladder. In other words, obviously the bull can't climb a ladder. The point is, they're very dangerous. Omarav, Niza Torah, Hein. This is interesting, Gemara. The sound that you make for an ox, you want to get rid of him, one shot is, you want to scare him off, you say Hein. Niza Darya, Zeze. When it comes to a lion, you say Zeze. Niza the Gamla, Doda. Niza the Arba. And when you want to pull, you want to give the people motivation. They're pulling the boat. You say Hilni Haya Hila v'Hiluk Hulya. The Meshech Chachma says on this Gemara, he says if a person has an animalistic taiva, he wants to act like an animal, but he knows what he's about to do is wrong, so he should say something very simple like hein hein da da. What does that mean? You should say, what was the lashon he said over there? Just a very da ma'ayin basol ana ta'ilach. Just say like one simple pasuk, something simple that will take away the yetzer. Omar Abaya, or dag v'kois chamen ubeitz v'kinim levanim. We're going to go into each one. Kulam kashim ledavar acher. Davar acher in the Gemara is always a pig, or tsaras. To have tsaras on your skin. So now we're talking about tsaras. We just had the other day we had davar acher was a type of food, and we didn't know what it was. The Gemara said davar acher, but okay. So these things are bad for tsaras. Now some say it doesn't mean the tsaras that comes from talking lashon hara, but it means just a skin ailment. Or man de gonei amashcha tzala. If you're going to sleep on hide that's still, it's not done yet, it's not good. It causes skin ailment. Dag, what kind of fish? Shibuta b'yom Nisan, type of fish called shibuta in Nisan. Kais, shiura kased arsena. Leftover, the fish with the breaded fish, the not good, leftovers. Chamin, what does hot mean? Chamim v'chamim mishadri lovei. Somebody constantly likes hot showers, very hot, water poured on him, it causes skin ailments. Beitzim, man de madrach haklim, if you step on eggshells, kinim levanim, white kinim, man de mechaber levushay, if you clean your clothes, and you don't wait 8 days, it's a problem. Remember, in those days, lice was a big issue. The baryon, they'll relive, you wash them, right? So now they go slightly dormant. If you're going to wear them right away, they will come back out and they'll get at you and they'll ruin your skin. Omar Papa. Based on this bashunra, if you have a cat, you shouldn't walk around without shoes. My time, telling you it's all got. Because at the end of the day, the snake, the cat will kill the snake. Voch and it'll eat it. And has little bones. If it goes into the bottom of your foot, it won't come out easy. It'll cause a sakana. Ikadabri. Based on let's base shunro. What? Hold on a second. Based on let's base shunro. A house that doesn't have a cat. But I can't see anymore. I'm literally my lenses are going fight. Because perhaps a snake will come and get you. So in those days at least, cats used to eat the snakes. So if you don't have a snake, if you don't have a cat, be careful. So this is interesting, exactly how this happened, who it was. There's different girsayis here. Okay, we'll just read the way it says. Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yossi told Rabbi. Some people go to Rab because that makes a lot more sense. Don't create a mum in your own thing. Mahi you shouldn't go to the entire against 3 people. Why? Because one will take the position that he's against you, and the other 2 illegally will pretend that they're witnesses, and now they're getting up against you. This is just a general rule, nothing to do with this Gemara, that you shouldn't go into a store if you don't intend to buy and look around, because this Gneiv's das, it's not nice to the owner, he thinks he's going to make a buck off of you. Over here it's a little different. It says you shouldn't stand there and really check it out and pick it up. First of all, other people can't buy it. It's ani mahabach b'charar, it's asr, and they walk away. Now you just caused the guy a loss. But you're going to make the price drop. People are going to see that you don't want it. They're going to say, something's wrong with it. We don't want it either. Now, real quickly, we discussed the idea of nida d'iraisa before they established what we do today. So if a woman is tmeya, she sees dam, even if she sees dam on the 7th day, 7 days straight, she go to the mikveh that night. B'diraisa. Today, she has to have shiva nekiyim. So we don't have the issue what the Gemara is about to say now. Ishtachot havla. Woman comes from the mikveh. Al tizakik lo layla rishona. Relations are also the first night. Now today it's the opposite. It's a mitzvah. Omar Rav uvenida deraisa, because she's still within the flow. Because she's still flowing, especially if it was the last day. She's allowed to go to the mikveh all the way to the end. Three things Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda told Rabbi: don't go out in the dark. And don't stand in front of a candle unclothed. And don't use a brand new bathhouse. In those days, if you think about how they built it, it was all wood, and they had like fire underneath to heat up the water, and everything could collapse at any given moment. Ad kama, how much do you have to wait? Ad chodesh, you have to wait 12 months to make sure that it's nice and strong. You could cause epilepsy. You have relations in front of the candle, having them banim nichvim. Now this is a very interesting halacha. We can learn a lot from this halacha. Sounds weird, okay. But the halacha is halacha vehatzlacha kamocha. And it teaches us a concept in how to treat friends. Don't put yourself in a position that you might see something in somebody and you're not going to like what you see, and then you won't like them. So you have to try really hard not to see fault in a friend so that you shouldn't come to have problems with them. That's this halacha right here. If there's a baby on the bed, you're going to cause that baby to have epilepsy. It's only if the baby is less than a year old. And these are all things, I forgot who says it, that these are things that you'd say the opposite. Maybe it should be a small baby. No. These are without a chayk. We know the certain things the Gemara knew, there's sakana. If it's more than a year old, the baby, it's not a problem. It's only when the baby's by the pillow. Not by the pillow. Less lambo. But if the baby's by the head of the bed, it's not a problem. It's only if you don't put your hand on the baby. Less lambo. There's no sakana if you have your hand on the baby. Not on Tuesday nights. And on Friday nights, remember this name? When we learned it the other day, it said that Bas Machlas, over here it says Agras Bas Machlas, the shade, Agras, and who's Machlas? The wife of Esav. The Gemara talks about how humans can have relations with Shadim and have Shadim. So according to Marsha, that's what's going on here. It's Esav's wife had a baby shade called Agras. He Ushmoinas Riboy Shel Malachim Chabal is 180,000 malachim that cause damage. Each one could cause damage on its own. They used to be around all day. The famous Rabbi Chanina ben Daisa, that the Kala Elam Kulai is Nizam because of Rabbi Chanina ben Daisa. Rabbi Chanina ben Daisa held up the whole world. Big tzaddik, known for his stories of tzitkus, of Nisim. Amarle, she bumps into him. This shed bumps into Rabbi Chanina ben Daisa. She says, if not for the fact that I constantly hear, you should be careful with Reb Chanina and his Torah, sekantich, I would have put you in grave danger. If I'm so important, like you're saying, then what I'm going to do with you, I'm going to eliminate you. I beg of you, give me a little bit space, give me something. So Shavakla, Leili Shabbosas, Leili Reviyos. So he gave her Friday nights. Nobody goes out Friday nights, Leili Reviyos, not a problem. By the way, I don't know if this is a fact, but I think there's an interesting thing going on here. Why did she have to tell him? Oh, if not for the fact that you're the famous Reb Chanina ben Daisa. I think there's a psychological element here. She thought she's going to get him by giving him a compliment. You know, he's such a great guy, and then she's going to get him. And it didn't work. He didn't fall for the trap. But sometimes when people give you compliments, there's something else going on behind the scenes. They want something. They want an angle. The Gemara says very similar, and we're almost done. We're just going to the last. Well, we'll see the top line here. This egress, the shed, bumped into Abaya. Abaya is also called Nachmeni because who was Abaya's stepfather? Rabba, the famous Rabba, and his father is Nachmeni, so he called Rabba Nachmeni. Nachmeni. I would have put you in danger, but you're so famous in Shemayim, I'm not going to do anything to you. If I'm so important, that's it, you're done, finished. Ask the Gemara, what's going on here? If Abaya was geyser, how come we bump into Agris all the time? Amri, Hani gaz yasalinu, the Shamti Susaya veloy daver lehu. Once in a while, when they have to run through the city to grab their horses, then you get to see them. But otherwise, Abaya was successful in eliminating them. Have a wonderful week. Be'ezer Hashem, we'll see you all tomorrow at 7:15 Eretz Yisrael time. Aguta Voch. Let me see these guys on Zoom for a second. I'll say good Voch to them. Shavuot Tov, Yishkach for having us, Avi.
More than my pleasure.
Thanks, Avi.
Unbelievable. When did you join us, Avi? In the beginning by Brochas?
Brocha.
How did you find us on the first day?
So, I tried to do Daf Yomi a couple of times. I had tried just with my gesture dictionary, didn't take.
No, that's not
I
going to
tried
work.
with a daily email from a summary to go through, didn't take. And then my next attempt, I just Googled, I went to YouTube and I said English Daf Yomi shir.
Yeah.
And the first one was America's Daf Yomi. You were in America, and Rabbi Fix was giving the shir.
So you were before Brochas.
This was during the Chorah.
Hold on, let me just say hello to these guys.
And the MDY Chevra went away, they didn't tell me.
Yeah.
Look what's going on here, Rabbi Say. We got Avi Mandelbaum in the background. The first time ever, there's a normal background. Rabbi Langer, Shalom Aleichem. It's great to see you.
Tell you 1 second. Is Isser Kuznets on?
Rabbi, I think this should be a precedent that you make the rounds and go to various people's houses and get shemar from the various locations.
Be'ezer Hashem. Listen, but exotic locations, and I have to be with Gershon. Gershon took me out. It's all mice. Maybe I'll say it tomorrow before Shir. But some guys got together. I was having some rough days, some things going on in my life, so they took me out for Shabbos. So, Baruch Hashem. But the other guys didn't want to come here. They said it's too far away, and they can't leave their families. Gershon is like, he looks at me, I'd love to leave my family. Let's go. Gershon doesn't think it's funny.
Gershon's wife doesn't think it's funny.
Nah, she's okay. We asked permission.
He's got to get back. Good things. Amazing.